Ah, you're finally here. So great to see you here. Do you know where you are right now? No? Okay, that's totally okay. Who am I? Well, that does not matter. What matters is who you are. Do you know who you are? No, and that's totally okay because that's what we'll be figuring out tonight. In this world of Pokemon, there's so many different Pokemons that you can take shape of. And the most important question that I have on the top of my mind is to figure out what Pokemon you are. After all, you're going to be going into this world of Pokemon very shortly. You're going to find a lot of partners and companions that you're going to have to work alongside of. But all of that is possible only if we figure out what Pokemon you are. And to that end, I suggest to you a short quiz, a personality quiz where I ask you a series of questions. All you have to do is answer very, very honestly. After all, it is to your benefit so that we can figure out exactly what Pokemon you are. Right? Okay, I'll ask you 7 questions. I'll give you 4 choices with each of those questions, and then depending on your answers, I'll let you know what Pokemon you are. Okay? Perfect. Alright. I'm gonna ask you some questions, then write down some notes in my journal. I hope you don't mind that. Great. Okay. If you're walking through a dense forest and you come across a tree, what is one of these things that you would do? Option number A, maybe you try to climb over the tree, right? And just pass through it. We can be very capable in life. The only thing that limits us is our own mind that tells us we're not good enough. So maybe you just want to climb over it. What about option number B? Try to find a different path. Why make life more complicated than it is, right? Option number C. What about hitting it really, really hard and just toppling the whole tree? Who knows? Maybe you're super strong and you've just never tried it. Option number D. Stand and just admire just how beautiful that tree is and just how big it is. That's an option too. Sometimes it's good to just stop and relax and enjoy life. What do you think? Option number A. Okay. You never know how good you are at climbing trees until you climb a tree. Most people will say they've never climbed a tree, but if you ask them, can they climb a tree? They'll say no. But how can you say that if you've never actually tried? So I respect that answer. It's not an answer a lot of people give me. And, I have to ask you, are you being completely honest with me when you're giving these answers? Okay, great. What I want you to do is not think of what you want to be, but rather who you are. If you were in that situation, how would you react? Not how you would like to react. And I hope that difference is quite clear in your mind. Moving on to the next question. You're given an important task, but it's going to take a lot of patience. How do you tackle it? Option number A, slow and steady. If you go fast, you'll mess up on something, right? They do say slow and steady wins the race. There's also option number B. You just gotta go faster, right? Maybe there's a shortcut. Most of your life, there's always shortcuts you can take. Some are valuable, some are not. I think there's always a risk and reward when it comes to shortcuts, so maybe you can take a shortcut. What about option number C, just wing it? What's the worst that can happen? I'm sure you've been in situations where you just winged it. Maybe school, exams. Maybe in life, just with any task, you just wing it when you're not feeling it, right? How about winging it? What about option number D? Convince someone else to help you. Teamwork, after all, is the dream work. Yeah, 2 is better than 1, right? And 4 eyes are better than 2. So, in this case, what do you think? What makes the most sense to you? Try to get some help? Okay, That's fine. You know, I think this is actually a sign of strength to know when you need help and to reach out to the right people to get some help. It might be considered brave to take on everything in life by yourself, but sometimes you do need to stop and find the right people, find a social network, and get their help, if possible. So I have nothing but respect for that choice. Moving on to the next question. Your friend needs advice, but they're kind of indecisive. How do you help them, right? Option number A, you listen carefully and give them very thoughtful advice. That I think is the most run-of-the-mill standard answer. I think this is something that everybody would expect their great friend to do for them, right? What about option number B? Tell them to trust their gut. It always works for you, right? You know, sometimes there's a feeling in your gut, and more often than not, what you feel in your gut is your subconscious mind coming up with a reason that you can't think of, but there is a reason in your subconsciousness that's giving you that signal. So it might be great to listen to your gut in that case, right? What about option number C? Help them break it down logically. Problem solving, after all, is the best thing to do, right? Usually with a lot of problems, if you sit down, think of them analytically, they make a lot more sense, and a decision made on logic is usually a good decision. Option number D. Tell them a joke to lighten the mood. Laughter fixes everything. You can think of it as a redirection. Make them laugh, make them feel good about themselves, make them feel easy, not stressed, and maybe the solution will just pop in the mind. Maybe in your mind, maybe in your friend's mind. So what do you think? What would you do in that situation? Okay, you would give them a thoughtful response. Option number A. I see. I think this is one of those things that everybody expects their friend to do for them, to give them a thoughtful response in situations where they just cannot decide. If you were anyone's friend, I'm sure they would have been very glad to have you as someone that they can call their friend. Based on your answers, I am starting to see a little bit of a trend, and it's starting to come into my mind just exactly what Pokemon you are. Like I can envision it in my brain. I see a silhouette. But for me to know very clearly and with all definitive answer, I need to ask you 4 more questions. I hope you're okay with that. Let me ask you the next question. You are in a race and you're falling behind. What is something that you do? What's your plan? What's your game plan? Option number A, you just keep a steady pace, and keep in mind you're failing in this situation. So you keep a steady pace, you'll catch up to them when they get tired. Usually when you're in a race, usually when it's running, for example, someone who starts fast is gonna burn themselves out towards the end. Maybe you can catch up in that position. Option number B, look for a shortcut. Again, there's got to be a trick somewhere, right? Maybe there's somewhere you can do a trick to get ahead. Maybe you don't have to traverse all that distance. Option number C, full sprint, no regrets. You just hard commit at that moment. You just go full sprint, no looking back, right? You got to give everything you got. And then option number D, winning's not everything. Sometimes the most fun you have is when you realize you just can't win and you're in it just for the fun, right? So in this case, what do you think you would do if you were in that position? Full steam ahead, full sprint? Okay, option number C then. Great. You know, they say if you are falling behind, why not just give it your all, right? And it is true with something like running. You gotta give it your all. Usually the barrier your brain creates for you comes way before the limit or the threshold that your body has. If you go full sprint, ignore your mind, maybe you can come back, right? Very respectable answer. Let me ask you the next one. We're on to the 5th question now. Someone challenges you to a competition. How do you respond to their challenge? You accept with a very cool nod, right? You try to act cool, you try to act mysterious, and just take on the challenge. What about option number B? You act pumped up, you're really excited, you tell them it's on, and you're ready for action. So instead of being really cool in option number A, opposed to that, now you're really pumped up, ready to go, energized. What about option number C? You'll join if it looks fun. No need to be hasty, and no need to be pressurized into competing for something where you're not interested. Assess the situation, compete only if it makes sense. What about option number D? Challenge them to something completely different. Something that is actually even harder than what they challenge you to. What do you think? In this situation, what would you do? Okay, you would do option number C. Okay, so you would want to challenge them to... Oh, you would take the challenge if it makes sense. Okay. I think, why try to go through a challenge that you're not interested in? After all, you can always say no, and that looks like something that you tend to do quite often, which is perfectly okay. 2 more questions. Let's see. If you could live in it anywhere, where would you live? Would you live in a peaceful forest with tall trees and soft breeze all the way blowing across the whole forest? Option number B, somewhere really high up, somewhere where you can see everything on the ground down below. Option number C, a place that's warm and full of energy, some kind of place that gives you really fuzzy vibes, cozy vibes, warm vibes, right? Option number D, anywhere as long as you are with a great company, whether it's friends, family, any person that you enjoy being in the presence of, as long as it's set. Which one would you do? You would live in a forest. Okay, that's totally okay. This is one of those questions that's actually one of my favorite that I ask. In all honesty, this question reveals the most about what kind of Pokemon you would be. What do I think? Well, I don't really have any choices. I can't make choices. Choices is a luxury that you have of making. I am just here to see through to make sure I record all your options. This luxury of making choices, it's something you don't realize you have. If you look at me, I don't have that. And in this case too, I don't have any choice. The only thing I can do is write down what you select, which I've done so. That makes sense. We're on to the final question, and in my mind, yes, I'm 100% sure what Pokemon you are, but I have to ask you this last question to make sure that I am confident in the Pokemon that comes to my mind. Very last question. Be honest with me, and this question is very straightforward. How would you say, which one of these terms describes you best? Option number A, adaptable, cool, calm, and collected. Option number B, energetic, you never slow down, you're always going 200 miles per hour in life. Option number C, determined. If you start something, you gotta finish it. Option number D, playful. You like to keep things lighthearted. Which one do you think describes you best? I know there might be multiple that you fall into, but which one do you resonate with the most? Option number A, so adaptable, cool, calm, and collected. Okay. And before I tell you your Pokemon, are you 100% sure you gave me all the honest answers? Okay, great. Well, in that case, let me do the final sums. And I think I know what Pokemon you are. You are a Trico. A Pokemon that is cool, calm, collected, very relaxed, loves to live in the trees, loves to be by itself in solitude, lives in the forest, lives a very relaxed life. I think you classify as Trico in all different categories. That's my analysis. And you know it's funny, when you walked in, you really reminded me of another Trico that was here many years ago that also set on in its path of journey. And who knows, maybe you'll follow that Trico's path and manage to get to where that Trico went. But you were very reminiscent of another Trico that I saw many years ago. But nonetheless, what do you think? Do you think I was able to assign you the correct Pokemon? Well, see, if you answer the questions honestly, it's never incorrect. And I'm glad to know even this time I am not incorrect. So, welcome to your journey, Trico, and I am sure you're gonna find a lot of different companions and partners in your journey. Good luck.